Ever wondered if someone is lying to you? What if you could spot deception with the same precision as a CIA agent? Today, we diving deep into the clandestine world of espionage to uncover the very techniques intelligence officers use to see through a web of lies. This isn't just about catching spies. It's about understanding the subtle, almost invisible signals people send when they're not telling the truth. By the end of this video, you'll have a powerful toolkit to help you identify deception in your own life. Stick around, because the secrets we're about to reveal could change the way you see every conversation. Let's start with the basics. When someone is being deceptive, their body often betrays them before their words do. CIA agents are masters at reading this silent language. One of the first things they look for is a change in baseline behavior. Everyone has their own unique set of mannerisms when they're relaxed and telling the truth. Maybe they gesture a lot, or perhaps they're naturally fidgety. The key is to notice a sudden shift from that normal state. If a normally calm person suddenly starts tapping their foot or a very animated person becomes unnaturally still, that's a red flag. It's a sign that their cognitive load has increased, which often happens when they're busy constructing a lie instead of simply recalling a memory. Another powerful nonverbal cue is eye contact, but it's not as simple as liars can't look you in the eye. In fact, many practiced liars will overcompensate by staring at you intently to appear more sincere. The real tell is often in the blink rate. An average person blinks about 15 to 20 times per minute. Under stress, like when telling a lie, this rate can dramatically increase. Or, conversely, they might stare without blinking for an unnaturally long time as they try to control their story and your reaction. It's these deviations from the norm that seasoned agents are trained to spot. So, next time you're in a conversation, pay attention not just to where they're looking, but how they're looking. Now, let's talk about the hands and face. Have you ever noticed someone touching their face frequently when they're uncomfortable? This is a classic indicator. Touching the nose, covering the mouth, or rubbing the eyes are often subconscious attempts to self-soothe or create a physical barrier to the deception. Legendary FBI agent Joe Navarro calls these pacifying behaviors. When a person is lying, their brain is in a state of conflict, and these gestures are a way to relieve that internal stress. Think of it like this. The brain knows it's lying, and it trying to stop the mouth from speaking the falsehood or shield the eyes from seeing your reaction. It's a fascinating involuntary response that's incredibly hard to fake or control, making it a goldmine for anyone trying to spot a lie. But it's not all about body language. The words people choose or avoid are just as revealing. Liars often use distancing language to create a psychological gap between themselves and their deceptive statements. For example, instead of saying, "I didn't take the money," they might say, "That money was not taken by me." Notice the switch to passive voice and the more formal, convoluted phrasing. They might also avoid using personal pronouns like I or my and instead use broad, sweeping generalizations. They're subconsciously trying to remove themselves from the action. Another verbal cue is the use of overly formal denials. A simple no is often more truthful than a long, drawn-out, "I absolutely, 100%, did not do that." These elaborate denials are often a performance designed to convince, not to simply inform. One of the most effective tools in an agent's arsenal is strategic questioning. They don't just ask, "Did you do it?" Instead, they use a variety of techniques to poke holes in a story. A powerful method is to ask for the story to be told in reverse chronological order. It's easy to recite a rehearsed lie from beginning to end, but telling it backwards? That requires immense mental effort because the liar has to keep track of their fabricated timeline in a non-linear way. A truthful person is simply recalling events from memory, which is much easier to do in any order. When a potential liar is asked to do this, you'll often see them struggle, pause for long periods, or their story will start to fall apart with inconsistencies. Let's dig deeper into questioning. Another technique is to use the power of silence. After asking a tough question, an agent will just wait. They won't jump in to fill the silence. This can be incredibly unnerving for a deceptive person. The quiet puts pressure on them to talk, and they'll often start volunteering information, adding unnecessary details to their story in an attempt to make it sound more believable. But in doing so, they often create more threads that can be pulled, revealing contradictions and holes. The truthful person, on the other hand, is comfortable with the silence because they have nothing to hide. They've given their answer and they're done. So, if you suspect something, ask a direct question and then just listen to the silence. Building on that, pay attention to the level of detail. Ironically, liars sometimes provide too much detail about irrelevant things while being vague about the crucial parts of the story. They might describe the weather, the clothes someone was wearing, or the food they ate in vivid detail, but when asked about the core event, their story becomes fuzzy. This is a diversion tactic. They hope that by overwhelming you with verifiable but unimportant details, you'll be distracted from the actual deception. An agent would notice this and zero in on the vague parts, asking for more and more specifics about the key moments. You said you went to the store. What aisle were you in? Who was the cashier? What was the total of your purchase? These specific follow-ups put the liar on the spot. Now let's put it all together in a hypothetical scenario. Imagine an agent is debriefing an asset who claims they met with a contact. The agent starts by establishing a baseline, just casual chat. Then, they ask the asset to describe the meeting. The agent notices the asset, who is usually very expressive with their hands, is keeping them clasped tightly. Red flag 1. When asked where the meeting took place, the asset touches their nose and looks away. Red flag 2. The agent then asks them to recount the conversation in reverse order. The asset hesitates, stumbles over the sequence of topics, and the story doesn't match the initial version. Red flag 3. By combining these observations of nonverbal cues, verbal slips, and reactions to specific questioning techniques, the agent can build a strong case that the asset is being deceptive. It is crucial to remember that none of these signs are definitive proof of a lie on their own. Someone might be touching their face because they have an itch, or they might be nervous for a completely different reason. The key, as CIA agents know, is to look for clusters of these indicators. 1 sign is an anomaly, 2 is a coincidence, 3 or more is a pattern that warrants closer investigation. It's about building a holistic picture, not jumping to conclusions based on a single gesture. Always consider the context of the situation and the individual's baseline behavior before making a judgment. True mastery of deception detection is a nuanced art, not a simple checklist. So, how can you start applying this in your life? Start by being a more active observer. In your next conversation, whether it's with a colleague, a friend, or a family member, practice noticing these things without judgment. Pay attention to their baseline. See if you can spot any pacifying behaviors or changes in their speech patterns when discussing different topics. The more you practice, the more intuitive it will become. Think of it as developing a new sense. And if you found these techniques fascinating, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which cue you think is the hardest to control. Your engagement really helps the channel grow. As we wrap up, remember that these tools are powerful, and with great power comes great responsibility. The goal isn't to become a human lie detector and call everyone out, but to have a better understanding of human communication and protect yourself from manipulation. But what if the person you're dealing with is also trained in these techniques? What happens when 2 masters of deception face off against each other? That's a whole other level of cat and mouse game, involving advanced psychological tactics and subtle traps. If you want to find out how agents spot other spies, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.